All right. Good morning, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Renewable Resource Extension Act National Focus Fund Projects Technical Assistance Webinar. This webinar is going to be recorded and will be made available to you guys for future viewing. And also, a little bit of logistics. This webinar, we encourage folks to ask questions. And if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A box. Again, thank you for your presence and for participating in today's webinar. My name is Jomi Zamora. I am a national program leader in the Institute of Bioenergy, Climate and Environment of NIFA, and I lead this program, Renewable Resource Extension Act. I'm going to ask my colleague, Dr. Rocio Gutierrez, to introduce herself as well. Rocio?
Thank you, Yomi. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. I am Rocio Gutierrez, the program specialist supporting the NFF program and supporting Yomi in all the process. Please let us know if you have any questions during the webinar, and please don't hesitate to send us an email if you get questions later. Just a reminder, the chat is not enabled. So again, for questions, please use the Q&A box. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rocio. And I also would like to acknowledge that we have here folks from ERA, from NIH. ERA is the new management grant management systems that we at NIFA are going to be using moving forward. So I thank you guys for joining us, and they are a great resource for any questions that you might have later on about the application process using ERA. Again, thank you guys for your presence in today's webinar. So what we are going to cover today, we are going to share with you very briefly information about NIFA, program overview for the Renewable Resource Extension Act National Focus Fund Program. We are also covering details and documents needed for your application, and we will talk about the process of evaluating your application, and we would like you to be successful in your application submission under the Renewable Resource Extension Act National Focus Fund. So we are going to be providing you some tips for success, as well as additional information or resources that you might need as you prepare for your application. So a little bit about NIFA. NIFA is USDA's extramural science funding agency under the Research Education Economics Mission area. We at NIFA essentially invest in and support initiatives that ensure the long-term viability of agriculture. NIFA provides funding and strategic leadership with respect to programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries in agriculture-related sciences, as well as technologies reaching the people who can put them into the practice. As we have said earlier, feel free to type in any questions you might have in the Q&A box. We will try our best to answer those questions during the course of this presentation. So the Renewable Resource Extension Act National Focus Fund Program is a component of the Renewable Resource Extension Act program of NEFA, and the RREA program was enacted in 1978, essentially to provide educational programs for forest owners as well as rangeland owners. In particular, the Renewable Resource National Focus Fund Program, it has three goals. First, to enhance the longevity of U.S. forest and rangeland resources through robust extension programming. Second, the program enables landowners and managers to achieve desired goals and objectives by making relevant scientific results available to them, and that is through extension programming. Overall, the Renewable Resource Extension Act NFF program aims to maximize the capacity, the reach, and impacts of the cooperative extension system to ensure that effective management and conservation of forest and rangeland resources are achieved to the fullest using extension educational programming. For fiscal year 2026 under NFF program, we have identified two priorities. The first priority is uh, tree planting establishment or reforestation. This specific priority supports extension projects that focus on tree planting reforestation efforts to ensure forest long-term health and longevity. As you know, there are several threats to forest uh, resources, including wildfire, insects, insects outbreaks, disease, drought, and invasive species, which essentially compromise the health and function of the forest ecosystem. These areas affected by disturbances of these factors that I just mentioned remain unrestored and lead to conversion into grasslands, shrublands, as well as fragmentation. And there is a need to employ extension projects so that we would be able to address these issues related to forest health as influenced by reforestation activities. The second priority of the program is invasive animal control and management. This priority focuses on the development of extension programming that targets the control and management of highly reproductive invasive animal species such as the feral hogs or the highly productive hybrid population of the same species originating from Canada, causing economic damage in northern states. So these are the two priorities of the program for FY 2026. Application outside of these priorities will not be considered for review or moving forward. So if you decide to apply, take note of these two priorities. You really have to address this one. For the program, eligibility of participants applying include individuals from 1862 land-grant universities, including the District of Columbia, as well as the U.S. insular areas. 1890 land-grant universities, including Tuskegee University, are also eligible to apply under the National Focus Fund Program of RREA. For this year, we opened application to 1994 institution as well as other state-supported colleges and universities offering graduate training in science basic to forestry and having a forestry school. One of the criteria that we have set forth for this program to be eligible to apply is that the project director must have an extension appointment. So in a nutshell, for the program, there are two criteria that you really have to satisfy in order to be eligible. The again, as I have said, must be submitted from 1862, 1890, or 1994, and must have an appointment with the extension service from your university. Under this program, duplicate submission or multiple application by the same PD render you ineligible to apply into this program. We only accept one application by the same PD, and there is no limit on the number of applications that eligible institutions may submit as a lead institution. RREA-NNF program is a standard program. We are soliciting standard proposal under which the project should focus on extension activities. Please note that this is not a research project, research program, nor an integrated project. We only accept applications with focus on extension. And for fiscal year 2026, we are anticipating to make 2 awards with a grant duration of about 24 months. I forgot to mention earlier, in each of the slide that I am discussing, there's a specific section in the upper corner of the slide that that points you out to a specific section in the NOFO to learn more about details of the information that I am discussing in a particular slide. The Renewable Resource Extension Act National Focus Fund project must strengthen education, training, and technical assistance to forest and rangeland owners and managers. Must also promote conservation, protection, and market development through effective extension educational design. RRE projects that you are proposing must support new and better markets for forestry and rangelands product as well as services. And because RREA-NNF focuses on supporting project with national or regional relevance, your project must be easily replicated by other institutions, states, and region. Since this is an extension project, your proposal must include a detailed plan on how data and information will be collected during the execution of the project. For more details about data management plan can be found on part 2 C of the NOFO. And your plan must show documented and measured impacts such as the extent to which tree planting, reforestation, or afforestation activities and best management practices are adopted, or in the context of um, animal invasive species, you must show how the adoption of those practices can change behavior among forest owners and rangelands owners in adapting and mitigating the impacts of uh, animal invasive species. Your plan must also show change in behavior during and beyond the project implementation. Keep in mind that under RRA National Focus Funds, there are costs that are not allowed. One of them is indirect cost. Tuition is also another unallowable cost under RREA, so you cannot support a graduate student under this program. The program doesn't allow funding for conducting any form of research, as well as it will not support other activities such as international collaboration. For details about the unallowable costs under this program, please refer to section part 4C of the NOFO. Cost sharing or matching is not required for the program as well. Keep in mind that matching resources will not be factored into the review process during the evaluation of your proposal. So don't bother about showing any matching as you develop your budget under this program. I'm going to be sharing now details and documents that are needed in your application. For this year, there are changes within NIFA that we have to adhere in order to move forward with your application. As I have earlier mentioned, NIFA is now transitioning into using ERA, which is a new grant management system. Keep in mind that one of the requirements before you could apply for this program through the new system that we are implementing, you as an applicant must register with this system prior to application submission. We are going to be detailing later on how you are going to be creating your account. Keep in mind that we encourage you to work very closely with your sponsored administration office about this process. And organizations must designate at least one signing official and one project director, in this case you, in ERA Commons when submitting an application. I forgot to mention earlier that I'm presenting my presentation right now using live team. So feel free to click those what do you call this? Those clickable links in each of the slides, and it will bring you directly to the specific resource. So that's the beauty about this live presentation in MS Teams. For moving forward, there are some changes as well in biographical sketch and current and pending support forms that we usually get from you guys as part of your application. All applicants are now expected to use the science CV generated USDA biographical sketch and USDA current and pending support form. So if you click this link, it will bring you to a specific resource or website where you would be able to learn more how to generate your biographical sketch as well as your current and pending forms. You can also learn more about all these things in the NIFA application guide. You can click link as I speak right now, and that would bring you to the website. So here are some critical details about the deadline and the amount that we can provide under the RREA and NFF program. Keep in mind that the deadline of application is going to be on June 8, 2026, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And you need to submit your application through the grants.gov. And for FY 2026, the available funding is $300,000. And when you go to submit your application, make sure that you are going to be looking at the program codes, because moving forward, this beginning this year, there has been a change in the program code for the RREA-NFF program. The code right now is EME compared to just ME in the past. So keep in mind to take note of this code EME as you look for your NOFO in the ERA system. The maximum award that we could provide here, there's a minor typo here. I forgot to correct them. The maximum award is $150,000, and the minimum amount that we can provide or that you can ask for is $150,000. Minimum 130, maximum $150,000. There are key components of your application that I would like you to be aware of. There are five or four major sections in your application: the project summary, the project narrative, as well as the project viability and replication in the data management plan for your project. Now, let us look at what is required for the project narrative of your application. For your project narrative, we have a 12-page limit, and this 12-page limit will be strictly enforced. Application exceeding the page limit will be returned without review. And the spacing should be 1.5 using 11 point times Roman. That's the minimum font size, as well as on that 12-page narrative should include text, figures, and tables. And you can make your tables to be single spaced to maximize your space. And keep in mind that the title of your project must be descriptive, and you need to provide the priority that you are applying, responding under this program as the subtitle of your proposal. And under the narrative, we have the introduction as well as the justification, rationale, and significance of your study, and relevant literature review, objectives, approaches, as well as timeline. So this is going to constitute the 12-page limit of your project narrative. For details about this, you can refer it to part 4B of the NOFO. We're going to talk a little bit about the data management plan. You as an investigator responding to this NOFO must provide detailed data management plan, and in that data management plan, discuss what are the expected data type that you are going to be generating, the data format, and how are you going to store and preserve that data, as well as your plan for data sharing, protection, and public access, and the roles and responsibilities. The data management plan plan will not count towards the 12-page limit. This link below will direct you to guidelines in writing, developing your data management plan. So feel free to click this or save this resource for your future use. So NIFA will only accept electronic submission of your application the uh, via the grants.gov system. And application, all the documents that you are going to be submitting to us should be in portable document format, PDF, and that includes your narrative as well as your budget justifications. Keep in mind that grants.gov may allow other format, but NIFA does not. So we have had experience in the past of rejecting applications that are not in PDF format. Sometimes you tend to forget to submit your application using Microsoft Word, so that triggers an error into the system. So if that is the case, then your proposal will not be considered for review. As I have mentioned earlier, we have a new process here in NIFA called ERA. As I have mentioned earlier, you need to create an ERA common account before you can start applying. You need to work with your organizations to make sure that you are able to create that account, register your organization, and work with your organization and register with your organization, because sometimes it takes 6 weeks before this could happen. So my advice for you right now is do it now. Do not wait for much any longer, because technically the deadline for application is coming up on June 8th, and now it's May 11th. You need to also make sure that you designate a signing official, as well as making sure that all key personnels, project director, principal investigators, as well as co-PDs working on your project have ERA accounts as well. So you need to, we advise you to work very closely with your sponsored administration office to get your account as soon as possible. Once you are done creating your account, then the next step is you need to apply via the grants.gov. Earlier, I mentioned that once you are in the grant.govs, what you need to know is you need to find the NOFO of this specific program in the grants.gov. And again, the code is EME. Complete application forms following NOFO instructions. There's a specific section in NOFO that talks about how to submit your application in the grants.gov, and you must enter your UEI in the ERA common registration, specifically in section 5 of the form 5 SF424. We have experts here from ERA who would be able to provide any questions, answers to any questions that you might have. It says here that you have to enter your ERA common username in the credential field applicable to the research and related senior key person profile. And remember that failure to enter will result in an application error. So do not wait for the last minute. Work on gathering your resources, materials, work on grants.gov, making sure that there are no errors that are associated to your application so that you would be able to fix it. So the next step is you can track your application in ERA Common. What you can do, you can log in into the ERA Commons, look for the status module, and from there, you would be able to see the recent and pending e-submissions. And if you have not received any accession number, therefore, your application did not go through. To make sure that once you submitted your application via the system, you would be able to get an accession number. Address any errors promptly via the original application and should not be in error common with errors, and applications with errors will not move forward. Here is a slide that will show you some important actions that you really have to take with respect to ERA. Again, before your program, uh, before you apply, make sure that your organization is registered in ERA Commons. You need to identify your signing official and verify their account is active. If you have submitted an application uh, you in NIH before, most likely you have that account active right now. You just need to verify it. And ensure that all active researchers have ERA Commons, including you being project director as well as your co-principal investigators. And when applying using the new system, enter your UEI on SF424 and it should match within the ERA Commons registration system. You need to enter your ERA Common username in the credential field before submitting. And I couldn't emphasize more that you really need to submit early so that if there are issues that trigger during your application, those issues can be fixed immediately. Don't wait to submit your application until the deadline. And after submitting your application, make sure to go back in grants.gov to track your application. You must ensure that there is a agency tracking number assigned to you, and make sure to confirm an accession number has been assigned to your application. And again, continue to monitor the status module as your application moves through. So that are some of the changes in our new application process this year. So how are we going to be evaluating your application? Applications are assigned for review to at least 3 reviewers with expertise in the proposed topic. This is done during our process called peer review panel. Reviewers will produce individual reviews of each of the application assigned to them, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses based on the evaluation criteria that we are providing to the reviewers. The reviewers will then write their evaluation and share that evaluation during the panel discussion with our reviewers. And that is what we call the peer review panel. Through these discussions, peer review panelists come to consensus on the final rating and ranking of your application. In the NOFO, we have listed 4 criteria that we are going to be using in evaluating your application. The first criteria is project justification. We have indicated 15 points for this particular criteria. And uh, under this criteria, we just want to make sure that your project will be evaluated based on the issue that you have identified and how that issue is well defined and described. On the project merit, which is 30 points, these are the different criteria that we have indicated: objectives, output, outcomes, and impacts, making sure that they are clearly described in your application, as well as utilization of theory-based non-formal adult education principles. Approaches and procedures are original, as well innovativeness um, of your project, including the methodology, program delivery, as well as the audience and products. We also be looking at the outcomes and projected impacts of your project, making sure that they are clearly stated, measurable, and achievable. Project relevance, 30 points. Requirements in the project narratives are met. Those things that I was showing earlier. Evidence that partners and stakeholders play an active role in setting up the project as well as direction, and planning and implementation methods for evaluating the success of your project activities and are all documented in your proposal submission. And then demonstration of feasibility through preliminary and current relevant data. Project personnel adequacy, facilities, equipment, project timeline, and evaluation plan, 25 points, making sure that your proposal clearly describe the role of the key personnels, and your proposal must show that your project personnel must have an extensive and documented experience in developing, leading, managing, and evaluating extension program. Your project must have a detailed, logical, and achievable timeline from project initiation to project completion. It must have a clear evidence of staff and budget resources to plan and conduct the project evaluation, in evidence of institutional capacity, competence, and experience of the proposed area of work. This slide is just showing you the timeline of how competitive grant programs like NFF takes in terms of the process is taking place in NIFA. So right now, we are in this stage of seeking application, but keep in mind that the process takes time. So be patient in waiting for any update from us about the status of your application. Tips for success. We just would like you to be successful in your application for under the NFF program. Here are a few tips. Consider these things. Is your topic appropriate for this program, or is there other better program that you could apply for? In a nutshell, we just don't want you to waste your time applying to the wrong program. And are you eligible to apply for this program? I mentioned there are two major criteria earlier under this program in terms of eligibility. Should come from land grant universities, as well as must have an appointment as an extension, must have an extension appointment. And I encourage you to keep reading the NOFO to understand the requirements needed to submit a proposal under this program. keep familiar with the application review process. And again, write clearly and logically organize the documents according to the NOFO outline or evaluation criteria. Make sure to prepare your budget with a strong justification. Follow the guidelines that we have indicated in the NOFO because your budget will be judged on the degree of reasonableness. Obtain critical inputs from experienced and successful colleagues. Feel free to share your proposal and have them review before you can submit your application to us, and fill out forms completely and correctly. And you might use tables and figures to illustrate important points about your application. Right, for both the expert and the novice. So sometimes we tend to just focus on our focus on writing our proposal based on what we know would work for you. But keep in mind that there might be some reviewers who would be reviewing your proposal with less knowledge about your um, the topic that you are going to be proposing. But keep in mind that your proposal will be reviewed by expert reviewers that we are inviting as part of the review panel. Application is complex, or application writing is complex and involves several steps. Here is a list of things that might be able to help you in your application. Locate the appropriate program, start assembling a team, considering that this project that this program NFF has a regional or national focus. You might want to create a team and also create a timeline and make sure that all required forms are complete uh, in ERA as well as in grants.gov, and make sure that forms that you are submitting are in the right format, and submit your application on time. Application package needs several documents as mentioned in the NOFO. I couldn't emphasize more to keep reading the NOFO to make sure that you are not missing anything. Complete and accurate application packages help reviewers in understanding the intended project and its requirement, because sometimes your project are not well rated because there are some missing documents. Create a list of documents needed from the NOFO and mark documents complete as you go along. And the checklist will also help you making sure that you have completed all the requirements uh, for the submission. We have here a slide showing you the different projects that we have funded under the RREA-NNF program. If you are going to hover your mouse over here, it will directly direct you to a specific resource listing the different projects that we have funded under NFF. So you will be able to have an idea of what we support. Grant resources this is a list of uh, resources that also would be able to help you be successful, navigate in your proposal write-up. Feel free to click them. And again, this presentation is recorded, so we will be sharing with you the recording in a couple of days. Again, that is what I have. We have this common mailbox, RREA-NNF@usda.gov. We monitor this address very regularly, and if you have any questions about the program later on, feel free to send them using this address. This is my last slide. I just want to make sure to you, I just want to mention that USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. And there are information out here that you can call should you need to talk to anyone related to the non-discrimination statement that we have at NIFA. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to my presentation.
There are no questions in the Q&A, Jomi.
Any questions so far? Okay. All right. Adasa? You might want to type in your question on the Q&A, or I will, I think, can I allow microphone? Hold on. I will, okay, go ahead. You might want to speak up. I enable the microphone
Yes,
for
we
you.
have a couple questions that are in the Q&A. I can see, I've listed two, and then there's another one from another individual as well.
Okay.
Yes, that is right. It wasn't thinking for me. Okay. Yes. Okay, so the first one from Adasa is, hello, the NOFO does not list a requested start date for proposals that are submitted in response to this call. Does the program team have a recommended start date that they would like to see listed within applications?
From your application, obviously you can start, you can write something about your start date, but it should be within fiscal year. But once your proposal is approved or recommended for funding, we will make necessary adjustment in terms of the start date.
Next one from Becca. Will this PowerPoint be available after the meeting to refer back to?
Yes, we are going to be making this PowerPoint presentation available to you guys. Because there are specific links. Yep. Go ahead.
Adasa is asking, the NOFO indicates that both H, project viability and replication, and I, data management plan, are required subsections within the project narrative PDF. Is that correct? Or are they to be included as separate PDF files under field 12 of the R&R other project information form?
Where is the question? The NOFO indicates that both project viability application and data management are subsections of the project narrative. Hold on a second. NOFO indicates that both project and data subsection. The project, the project viability and replication and data management plan are required subsection in the project narrative. That is correct. And I just don't know about the RR project information form yet. I have to go back to the to you on that one. So what I'm just trying to say is that this section should be part of the project narrative.
Okay. Andy is asking, is the accession number immediately assigned or is there a waiting period?
No, the moment that you submitted your application, you will be assigned with an accession number. So make sure that you have that accession number saved after submitting your application, so you can refer back to your application using that accession number.
Okay. Let me refresh again. Okay, Kelly is asking to confirm the start date should be within fiscal year 2026. That is October 26th to October 27th.
So the fiscal year 2026 starts in October 2025, ends in September 2026. So we are going to be making awards within that period. So the start date of your project, if it is selected and awarded, should should within that time frame. Now we are in we are in May. So if you are going to be funded, then your start date would be before September 2026.
That is all I'm seeing right now.
Okay, anything else? All right, feel free to reach out to us for any questions you might have, and we are looking to receiving applications from you guys. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.